Hey, what's up, everybody? So I wanted to do a really quick video, and it's actually going to be a follow-up video to another blogger's or another YouTuber's page called Since Day One. This is another blogger. She's a really good blogger. I like a lot of her videos. I like her energy, and I can actually learn something from her, right? But she has this one video, and this video is called "R. Kelly's Lawyers Are Very Desperate to Get Rid of get R. Kelly released." Sorry, Azriel Clary shows no support, right? But in this video, she has a section where she goes, "Lawyers for R. Kelly desperate to research potential jurors on social media." She basically says she's never heard anything so crazy or something like that. So this makes me believe that she doesn't understand the importance of the jury selection process. So this is going to be a follow-up video, not only to her video, but it's also going to be a follow-up video to several videos that I have done, right? So first off, you need to understand the jury selection process. You can do that by clicking this link up here. And this link up top is basically going to take you to a video series that I did that explains the jury selection process in and out. Second, I also did another video which basically says the anonymous jury for the R. Kelly trial doesn't matter. You can find that link down below, hopefully, or maybe it's up top. I don't know where I'm going to put it. But if you look now, you'll see that link, right? So you have two separate videos that I've done. One is to understand the American jury process, and then the second is to basically say that the anonymous jury doesn't matter, right? Now, I'm not changing my opinion about the anonymous jury and how it doesn't matter. However, the fact that people are coming out and they're making videos like this, to me, tells me they clearly don't understand the importance of the jury, and they clearly don't understand the mechanics of the jury system, right? So I'm making this video to basically try to reinforce and try to shed light on that. But of course, you need context. You need to go back and watch my other two videos, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. So we have the motion that she was actually talking about in her video. I'm not going to go through all this. I'm just going to try to read the highlights so we can keep this video moving. Basically, it goes on to say, to be clear, what Mr. Kelly and his counsel are requesting is that the court provide counsel with the jurors' social media, employment, and neighborhood information. This information is essential to an effective and meaningful voir dire. Voir dire is explained in the video series of the American jury process, which is basically going to be in a link again above. And in that jury selection process, you have the opportunity to eliminate jurors, right? And there's two ways that you can actually eliminate jurors. I'm not going to get into that. You need to go back and watch that entire series so you can get yourself a solid understanding of what the jury process entails. If you're an American, it's your civic duty. You should know this. I don't care if you're a millennial. I don't care if you're Generation X. I don't care if you're 80 years old. If you don't know the jury selection process and what it entails, you need to go and do this homework, because this is something every American should know. All right, so just moving on. All right, so basically I'm going to skip down to another part, and it goes, not long ago, there was a great upheaval in the connection with Roger Stone because of the information learned during post-trial internet searches, right? And then it goes United States v. Stone. I just think this was poorly written. I don't know who wrote this, but it actually doesn't tell us, and it's not telling the judge how important this case was, the case United States v. Stone, because it doesn't give any information. It just says internet searches in this case, and it doesn't provide any context. But moving on, it says, likewise, although, 3435, it goes, likewise, although she was seated, a juror in the Harvey Weinstein case answered a question truthfully on her questionnaire that she was a novelist, but it was only through doing online research that the defense learned the subject of her book was predatory men, right? And then it provides a link to that book. And then it says both instances demonstrate the need for adequate information, right? And then it goes on. Furthermore, it is malpractice for an attorney not to engage in social media research of the type requested in the present case. But while the dangers of inadvertent contact with jurors, violating jurors' privacy, and risk revelations an important basis for preemptory strikes are genuine, These concerns are outweighed by the dangers of not conflicting online research. I'm sorry. These concerns are outweighed by the dangers of not conducting online research. Voir dire becomes voir Google, ethical concerns, 21st century, jury selection 2016. And this is basically a link from the American Bar Association, as you can see here. So let me sum all this up for you, right? So in the American jury process, or that video series, I take you through how a jury is selected. I take you through the voir dire process. I take you through and I explain how you can eliminate jurors in that process. I take you through how race matters, right? And I also take you through how a jury, or at least I think I do, this may not be in there, I can't remember. I also believe, it may not be in there, but I believe I explained that if the jury isn't properly selected, then the verdict from that case can be thrown out. So in other words, if they don't follow the rules for constructing the jury, then that whole judgment is null and void, and they would have to start all over again, right? So, and in the anonymous jury, I'm sorry, in the other video that I did where I talk about how the anonymous jury doesn't really matter, I point out in that video that both the prosecutor and the defense will be starting off at the same point, right? They're on an even level, right? The prosecutors don't know who the jurors are, and the defendant don't know who the jurors are, right? So it doesn't matter, and I kind of stick with my mindset that the jury process, the anonymous jury, doesn't matter because essentially they'll be on the same level. And then secondly, they're going to be able to say they have a valid reason for the anonymous jury. So I don't see, unfortunately, I hate to say this, I don't see how R. Kelly could get around that, right? Because the allegations against R. Kelly is that, number one, he's some type of crime boss, which we know is false, but that's the allegation that has been established in court, right? So they hit him with the RICO charges, so that justifies protecting the jury, right? And again, I'm not saying that is right, but they've already set a precedence in court. And then number two, in the state of Illinois, in the federal courts, I got a phone ringing in the background. God damn those phones. In the state of Illinois, they are alleging that he intimidated the witness or he tampered with the witnesses in the state trial. So they have a conspiracy to defraud the United States charge, right? So it's going to be hard for R. Kelly to overcome the anonymous jury or the justification for the anonymous jury. So therefore, I'm saying the anonymous jury doesn't matter because it's going to be almost impossible for him to overcome the anonymous jury. It doesn't matter because both the prosecutors and the defendant, R. Kelly, R. Kelly's lawyers will be starting on even ground. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It gets interesting because things have evolved, right? So back before there were telephones, how would people do jury research? And again, jury research is going to be necessary in order for the lawyer to make a gut-wrenching decision. Let me take a step back here because I left something out. So in the American jury system, I showed you a video of an attorney explaining how to get rid of black jurors, right? So essentially, what he's going to tell you is that he's making decisions from his gut to eliminate people. Of course, what he's saying is racist, but it gets us in the mind space that you need to eliminate jurors for a certain reason. So therefore, you need to do research on these juries. However, in the heat of the moment, I think that's almost going to be impossible. In the R. Kelly case, for example, in New York, you have over 500 jurors. It's going to take a fortune for you to hire hundreds of people so that they can make some type of gut decision based off the information they find on these social media accounts, right? So let's say there wasn't an anonymous jury and R. Kelly had the opportunity to do searches on a potential 500 people. It's going to be like finding a needle in a haystack and then trying to apply that needle to each person that basically you're interviewing. in the voir dire at that time. I know this is a little confusing. That's why you have to go back and you have to watch the American jury selection video process, because everything will become clear. But let me just sum it up. You're going to have 500, potentially, you're going to have a pool of 500 people. And from that pool, they're going to pick a certain amount of people at the time. You're going to have to pivot and shuffle and go and get your notes and files of the internet searches you have to basically apply that to the people that they may or may not pick. It's an impossible task. That's my own opinion, right? Because you won't know who they're going to pick up until the point when they bring them in the room. Then once you get the person in front of you and you're asking questions and you're trying to compare notes, it's going to be clumsy. It's going to be impossible. You're going to have to make a decision based off of that, right? I think you just simply have to make a decision right then and there on the fly. I think the information you uncover from the social media accounts, so on and so forth, is not going to be readily useful until after the jury trial, right? Which is justified because you can still get the case thrown out if you find something rock solid, right? So, but in terms of you trying to apply this information right then and there, it's going to be almost impossible, in my personal opinion. Of course, I could be wrong. That within some exception, like if one of the jurors has already done something outrageous on the internet, like you find a post where the juror is saying, yeah, I'm going to make sure, if I was on the jury, I'm going to make sure Kells is guilty. Yeah, something like that is going to be useful in excluding that person. But here's a problem. That person may not even be chosen out of the pool anyway. So although they may start out with this list of 500 people, they're only going to bring in so many people. And I'm just going to exaggerate because I don't really know the exact number. So they'll start off, I know that the number of people they're going to start off with is going to be about 500. So out of that 500 pool, they may only bring in probably 40 people. And from that 40 people, they're going to narrow it down to 12, right? So it's and you don't know who is going to be selected. So you're going to have this stack of notes that you're going to have for 500 people. And then when they bring them in the room, you're going to have to say, okay, and they're not going to tell you their names. That's the other thing. You don't know who the names of these people are, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to go into that room with a huge stack of paper, and you think you're going to have the opportunity to match your notes to the actual juror. The judge isn't going to give you time to do that. So that's why I say the anonymous jury doesn't matter. However, for the purpose of this video, we need to explain or provide more context of how this is important. So, getting back on track. If a jury pool was improperly constructed in a case, then the verdict that jury reaches can be thrown out, and then that case would have to start all over again. And then if R. Kelly has this type of situation, he can essentially get out while he's basically retrying his case, right? The other thing that can happen is that, of course, they can go through all the social media accounts, and after they go through the social media accounts, they may find a bombshell where a person went in biased and there was no way that he could overcome his bias. And in that situation, they can probably get the case thrown out. And when the case is thrown out, they can probably essentially get R. Kelly out of jail, right? However, this is something that they will have more than enough time to do after trial. And because of that, the anonymous jury does not matter. But again, we're going through this just to explain or provide more context of how the jury system works. Again, if you want a detailed explanation, you need a detailed explanation. Not if you want, you need to understand how the jury selection process works. Click the button up top right here, right now, which is going to explain the American jury system, right? So essentially, they can get a losing verdict thrown out if the jury was improperly selected, or if there was something behind one of the jurors. Maybe there was a bombshell on the internet where a juror was biased, and they can use that information to get the case thrown out. So that's why they're writing this motion. They're trying to set themselves up for an appeal. That's what's important about this motion. Me personally, I don't think you're going to be effective trying to apply notes that you find about 500 different jurors to a particular jury at a given point, because again, you're not going to be able to call the jurors up by the names based on your notes. That would take forever. The judge is not going to allow that. If you're a lawyer and you've been in a voir dire section and the judge has allowed you to say, wait a minute, let me get my notes. Okay, John Doe, let me see John Doe. No, that's not how it's going to work. They're going to bring those 12 people in. You're going to get a chance to question them. And I doubt the judge is going to allow you a chance to say, here, let me get my notes, right? And again, to understand this, you have to watch the jury system video that I've already done, right? So this is simply to set everything up for an appeal. That's all this is. At least I believe that's all this is. If you, that's not it. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm moving too fast. So here's the thing. Times have changed. Before telephones, people or lawyers probably went around town and got information about individual jurors and then used that information to try to get a specific juror kicked from the trial. Then we move into the age of telephones, and basically there used to be a point in time in which a person's telephone number, the prefix, indicated where the person lived, and that information could be used to form an opinion about a person. It may be a wrong opinion, but nonetheless, people did it. Then you also have zip codes, and people probably also use that information to form opinions about individual jurors, right? But moving into the 21st century, we now have internet information, right? Every time you post something on the internet, every time you do make a transaction on the internet, the internet is collecting what they call metadata about you as an individual. So what ends up happening is that there is a landmine of information about everybody on the internet. So just think of it this way. There's a man in the sky who is basically, we're going to call Santa Claus, and Santa Claus knows everything about you. He knows whether you're naughty. He knows whether you're nice. He knows who you've been sleeping with. He knows whether or not you masturbate. He knows what you like to eat. He knows when you like to sleep. He knows what you buy. He knows where you shop. Santa knows everything about you because you willingly put that information on the internet. So that's another reason why this information could be important, because they're going to be able to comb through this data, this mine of data, or they're going to have a data mine of which they can comb through to try to get R. Kelly's case thrown out, or a bad judgment in R. Kelly's case thrown out, and then have to start all over again. That's why this is important. But honestly, unless there's some type of bombshell, I seriously doubt that someone's going to be able to comb through. You would have to hire probably an army of 300 people to comb through data of 500 jurors. And then out of all that data, you're probably only going to use probably 20% of it. And it's going to be difficult trying to use that information and come up with some type of conclusion on the fly, a reliable conclusion. This is something new. It's important because it's new, right? This is something new, and it's important because it's new. And, I think what they're trying to do now is they're trying to set up everything on appeal, but this is also going to pave the way forward for making decisions like this, because, this is new, right? And I think maybe sometime in the future, lawyers will become better at using a person's internet information to make decisions about that person, but we're not there yet. So with everything said, the anonymous jury, in my personal opinion, does not matter. However, for the purposes of appeals and the purposes of evolving as a society, I think this motion is important. That's it for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe.